Welcome aboard Amtrak's legendary train across the southwestern United States, a one-seat ride from the City of Angels to the Windy City. This is Amtrak Southwest Chief, a 3-day, 2,000-mile route so iconic that its old operator made Amtrak change its name, and so influential that it inspired Amtrak's Superliner fleet and like 50% of all model trains. But in a day and age where you can fly between Chicago and LA in a couple of hours, and when you have other choices for scenic trains to California, is the Southwest Chief still worth the 3-day trip? The only way to find out is to go for a ride. Let's take a look at the map. I'd be getting on the Southwest Chief in Los Angeles, California at LA Union Station. From there, the train crosses Southern California and Northern Arizona before stopping in Albuquerque, New Mexico, then continuing through the highlands of that state and into southeastern Colorado. From there, it passes through Kansas, Missouri, and a bit of Iowa before crossing Illinois to Chicago. For most of its journey, the train uses right-of-way owned by BNSF Railway. Los Angeles Union Station dates back to 1939, and it's currently owned by LA Metro. It was built to consolidate services on the Southern Pacific, Union Pacific, and Santa Fe railroads, which all previously had their own stations in the city. That last railroad, the Santa Fe, was at the time one of the largest carriers in the western United States, and 2 years before Union Station opened, it launched the Super Chief, a streamlined diesel train between Chicago and Los Angeles. This was advertised as the world standard of train travel, with luxury onboard dining, air conditioning, and competitive speeds between the Midwest and West. The railroad's iconic war bonnet scheme, seen here precariously overhanging the streets of Los Angeles, was developed for locomotives serving this route. Hollywood celebrities even regularly rode the service, giving it the nickname the Train of Stars. But despite its lasting legacy and complete domination of the model railroad industry, the Super Chief eventually went the way of most famous passenger trains, becoming part of Amtrak in 1971, and evolving into today's Southwest Chief. I took my seat and we set out, quickly turning south and crossing the Los Angeles River. This is the one piece of the Chief's route that actually runs further south than the Sunset Limited, which connects LA, California, to New Orleans, LA. But after Riverside, the routes cross each other and the Chief heads northeast into the hills. As you can see, the sun is setting. We're between San Bernardino and Victorville. The sign off for today. See you tomorrow from New Mexico.
Caleb didn't do his research.
Because when I woke up, I was in fact in the state of Arizona. The Chief crosses through the north of the state, passing through the beautiful painted desert and lands belonging to the Navajo Nation. It's only then that it arrives in Albuquerque, the largest city in New Mexico, where it briefly parallels the Rail Runner service, one of the longest commuter rail lines in the US, serving Albuquerque and the state capital of Santa Fe. And yes, that's where the Santa Fe Railroad gets its name.
Hello from day 2 on the Southwest Chief. We've made it all the way through Southern California, Northern Arizona, and New Mexico to the city of Albuquerque. The city that nobody can spell right on their... Albuquerque, the city that nobody can spell right on their first try.
These double-decker superliners are no strangers to this route. Built in 2 batches between 1975 and 1996, they were actually inspired by similar double-decker coaches called High Levels, built by Bud for the Santa Fe in the 1950s. These ran on the El Capitan, an all-coach train that used to parallel the Super Chief, until the two were combined in 1958. After Albuquerque, the train passes the Sandia Mountains, named for the Spanish word for watermelon, and the Ortiz Mountains, home to the first gold mines west of the Mississippi. The town of Lamy is home to less than 300 people, but it's a stop for both Amtrak and the Santa Fe Southern's Sky Railway tourist train. Moving northeast, we passed near the location of the Battle of Glorieta Pass, a little-known Civil War battle which definitively pushed traitor forces out of New Mexico in 1862.
So I just took a nice little nap, and I just woke up to find out we're rolling into Las Vegas. So, time to win it big. Wait, Las Vegas, New Mexico?
Caleb didn't do his research.
This joke comes with apologies to Jeb Brooks. Well, since I don't have a seatmate during this particular stretch of the journey, I thought I'd show off the coach accommodations in the Superliner. Special thanks to my fellow passenger for filming. These seats have tons of legroom. I'm 6'2", to round up.
6'1", stop flexing 2021, Caleb.
And you can stretch out just fine. They have these footrests here, and you can also lift up these leg rest things, and then recline super far back.
We passed through sweeping grasslands as we shot north towards the Colorado border. As an East Coaster, I had no idea whole swaths of New Mexico looked like this, rather than the deserts I had seen on board the Sunset Limited earlier in my trip.
So as you may have seen earlier, these cars are double-decker, meaning that the seats are mostly up here, but then there's a little staircase. It goes down to the luggage rack, and back here, we have the restrooms.
The following stop was in Raton, New Mexico, where a large group of Boy Scouts boarded the train, probably coming from the nearby Philmont Scout Ranch. Then we were climbing through Raton Pass, which tops out at 7,588 feet, and has grades up to 3.5%. While the Southwest Chief operates here daily, BNSF rarely sends their own trains through this pass due to the grade. After the peak, we passed a westbound Chief, running over 6 hours late. But do you know what's not late, but rather early? Patreon access to the first video from my UK series, where I ride between the British namesakes of Boston and Washington to recreate the Northeast Corridor. You can join today for as little as $1.80 per month. My Patreon supporters help me pay for my trips, as well as for the pizza I ate while writing this part of the script, instead of going grocery shopping. So if you're a regular and want to see more videos, do consider supporting. So why did the Santa Fe Super Chief become the Amtrak Southwest Chief? Well, after Amtrak took over the Super Chief in 1971, onboard services began to decline. And in response, Santa Fe revoked Amtrak's permission to use their iconic train name in 1974. Instead, the train was to be called the Southwest Limited. 10 years later, Santa Fe decided Amtrak had improved enough that their train could once again be a chief, and thus the train was christened the Southwest Chief. Of Amtrak's 4 routes from Middle America to the West Coast, it's the only one not to share a name with a historic passenger service.
Welcome to La Junta, Colorado. There's really nothing here except 7,000 people and a couple buildings. But here's the train. Now to finish a game of cards with some fellow passengers, and then hit the hay. By the hay, I mean my seat and coach.
Within the last few years, an idea has been floated to add through cars on the Chief from here to Pueblo and Colorado Springs, Colorado, neither of which presently have passenger rail. What does have passenger rail is Kansas, where I woke up the following morning.
Good morning from day 3 in Kansas, the state that is so flat you can watch your dog run away for 5 weeks. Unfortunately, as we're pulling into Kansas City, we are experiencing quite a bit of a delay due to various factors regarding the crew. We are going to be leaving Kansas City around 1 p.m.
Kansas City Union Station opened in 1914, and with only 4 Amtrak trains a day, it puts the rest of its massive space to good use, with multiple museums, restaurants, and event venues on the premises. Just outside the building, we find the National World War I Memorial and a boxcar used to transport Jews during the German Holocaust. With lots of time till the train left, I went for a ride on the city's streetcar. More about that in a previous video. Then I took a bike share to see our train and an attraction I'd seen in a Mr. Beat video.
I am so out of shape. So why did I ride this bike all the way out to this random neighborhood? Well, this neighborhood happens to be home to State Line Road, which, as you might expect, falls on the state line between Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. Right now I'm standing in the Kansas side, but if you look across the road, that's Missouri. Now watch my incredible journey as I cross state lines twice. Missouri! Kansas! Yeah, totally worth the $10 I spent on the bike.
Biking back, I spotted a plane on a roof and a cool mural. Then I walked up the steps of the World War I Memorial to get a skyline shot. Finally, I popped into the station's model train exhibit, which wasn't that impressive. Don't get me wrong, I love model trains, but I felt like they tried to cram a lot of trains into not a lot of space, which was just overwhelming. At long last, we were on the move again, cutting northeast across Missouri. Fun fact, the Southwest Chief is allowed to run up to 90 miles per hour, 11 miles per hour faster than most Amtrak long-distance services, due to automatic train stop systems installed by the Santa Fe. This wasn't going to help us much now, though, because we were 6.5 hours late by this point. From Fort Madison, our only stop in Iowa, we crossed to the Mississippi River into Illinois.
So we're approaching the town of Galesburg, Illinois, as you can see on the water tower right there. Galesburg is where we switched from former Santa Fe territory to former Burlington Northern Territory.
Galesburg is also where the Chief meets 3 other Amtrak services, the California Zephyr, Illinois Zephyr, and Carl Sandburg, and continues with them into Chicago. So having done this whole train end to end, would I recommend it? Well, it depends. Obviously, if you like taking trains and this one looks fun to you, you should do it. No brainer. If you have a tight schedule to keep, you probably shouldn't. If your origin or destination is one of the smaller towns or cities on the route, it makes for a decently practical travel option. If you want spectacular scenery on a Chicago to California train, ride the California Zephyr. Then, if you're still hankering for more, ride the Southwest Chief. I'm sorry, but nothing I saw on this trip was remotely as spectacular as the Zephyr's pass through the Rocky Mountains. For me, the Chief was a relaxing way to unwind, see more of the country, and recuperate after weeks of travel and filming from Atlantic to Pacific. Now it was time for one more day of adventures in Chicago, and my last trains home.
Reminder that we were supposed to be here at 2:50. It was supposed to be light out when we pulled into Chicago. What could have been?